Hello everyone, this is Dr. Onur and I'm going to briefly discuss about the ancient roots of the modern political thought in this video. I should emphasize that contemporary political thought is significantly inspired from the ancient Greek political thoughts. And this can be observed that quite a number of political ideas concerning liberty, equality, justice, separations of powers, rule of law, legitimacy or authority are rooted in ancient Greek philosophy. Similarly, quite a number of different concepts concerning to the states and the administrative system are also rooted in ancient Greek philosophy, as well as the Roman law. In this chapter, I will briefly discuss on political developments in Sparta and Athens. And second is Plato's place in political thought. The third topic that I'm going to discuss on is Aristotle as political philosophy. And the fourth point that I'm going to raise in this video is philosophical origins of the two contemporary political thought, which are Contractarianism and the Cosmopolitanism. And lastly, in this chapter, I'm going to also discuss contributions of Polybius and Cicero, who were the bridge between the ancient Greek philosophy and the Roman law. First of all, looking at the ancient roots of the institutionalization, we see two different models. One is the Sparta and the other is the Greek tradition. There's a geographical reason behind the emergence of these two types of the institutional structure in ancient Western world. Sparta was settled in a productive land without any seaports, and the main mode of production in Sparta was agricultural production. Therefore, workforce in agricultural production was valued highly, and thus slaves were quite important to sustain a high amount of agricultural production in Sparta. This led to emergence of different societal strata in Sparta, and the Spartans, people who are called Spartans, were at the top of this social strata. On the other hand, Athens was a coastal region with seaports. This provided to Athenian people to develop a more sophisticated mode of economy, which is basically trade-based economy. So they were not dependent on the agricultural production, agricultural economy, but trade provided them a wide spectrum of the goods, which eventually made them open to the different cultures and the vivid social life in comparison to vis-a-vis to Spartan economy and Spartan social lives. So, according to some historians, commerce-based, trade-based economy of Athenians inevitably provided them to develop an opportunity to develop more open-minded, more vivid political and social life. There were different social classes in Athens as well. For example, there were nobles, small farmers, craftsmen, and the poor peasants, as well as slaves. Class struggles between and within these groups led the emergence of different types of the administration, such as aristocracy, oligarchy, plutocracy, and what we call today democracy. Plato. There could be hundreds of topics whose roots are associated with Plato's discussions in political thoughts, as well as sociology, philosophy, economics, and even some branches of natural sciences. It is important to emphasize that the significance of Plato's political philosophy is mostly about that he was one of the very first philosophers who discussed crude versions of many contemporary ideas in a systematic manner. Looking at his work, we see that he discussed, for example, the concepts of the state in a detailed fashion, as well as the concepts of society. Why human beings need to live as society was another primary discussion in Plato's works. In addition to this, we can also see he was one of the first philosophers who discussed various forms of the institutional and administrative issues. Who should be the ruler, or who could be the best ruler, are still discussions that Plato are still vivid discussions that Plato discussed by referring to the, for example, administrator king or philosopher administrator. We can also see that the idea of justice and equality were the primary discussions in Plato's work, and significant size of the contemporary literature in political thought, one way or another, associated with the discussion of those ideals like justice, equality, liberty, desert, rights, etc. Aristotle. What I just said about Plato also can be said for Aristotle as well. Aristotle's works are also quite influential in contemporary political thought, but different from the Plato. We see that he gave a more place to metaphysical and theological issues and explanations in his works. According to Aristotle, politics was one of the top of the other sciences. This is because in a city-state, in a polis, in ancient terms, the final decision was given through politics. The aim of the politics was to achieve the best form of human life. The aim of the ethics was to determine what is good for humans and for entire society. Therefore, we see that Aristotle followed a big deal of discussions on human flourishing, human development, which basically means in Aristotle's discussions humans' ability to achieve their true potential. Human behaviors, a good life, happiness of citizens or nobles were some of the main subjects of Aristotle's works, and he was one of the very first philosophers who discussed these transcendental issues in relation with more concrete issues of politics, society, state, and administration. Philosophical origins of contractarian thought and cosmopolitanism. Contractarianism and cosmopolitanism are two important contemporary political thoughts. Their origins, however, are found out in ancient Western political thought. Epicurus can be pointed out as the father of the contractarian political thought. According to his theory, people made a contract when they noticed their common interests. Thus, they prevented the threats altogether, worked together, and established a happy life altogether. This was a very primitive type of the social contract perception, which was developed in a more advanced, in a more nuanced form by some figures of the modern political thought, like Thomas Hobbes, with his great contribution to the political thought called Leviathan, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Similarly, cosmopolitanism is also today an important view in political philosophy, and its roots also can be found in the ancient Western political thought. The earliest form of the contemporary cosmopolitan view can be pointed out as Stoicism. Founder of the Stoicism was Zeno, and Zeno's ethical philosophy still stands quite powerfully today. Stoicism holds a unified account of world and thus humanity. It consists of an ideal of the formal logic, in other words, what we call today in political thought as reason. It also consists of a monistic understanding of physics and naturalistic ethics. Stoicists were the first political philosophers that advocated an equal value to all strata of society, even for the slaves. So this was, at that time, quite a radical view in comparison to the other views developed by Aristotle and Plato. This view of the Stoicists later on paved the way heading towards developments of the cosmopolitan views, or what we call today as cosmopolitanism. Contributions of Polybius and Cicero shouldn't be ignored when we are discussing about ancient Greek philosophy and Roman law. As we move from ancient Greek political thought to the Roman politics, the bridge between these two traditions is usually pointed out as Polybius. His main argument was that there were fluctuating periods in the history of political societies, and according to him, the Roman Empire owed its success to its constitution. So he was one of the first figures in political thought who subscribed with the constitutional arguments in the formations of state and administrative system. He was also one of the first philosophers who took the attention to the importance of the what we call today check and balance system in administrative issues. Cicero, on the other hand, was a figure who underlined the importance of collaborations of all institutions and the unity within the republic. He saw the politics as a virtuous activity of human beings. So he offered conceptions of state derived from society and considered politics as human action through which the society is united under the aim of common good, developing common good for everyone. Because according to Cicero, all human beings are connected to each other with should be connected to each other with legal bonds. So the second chapter of the book, called Political Thought, is mainly about the ancient Greek political thought and the Roman law, and it demonstrates how quite a number of different contemporary political concepts are rooted in the ancient Greek philosophy and the Roman law. In line with promoting such an idea, this second chapter of the book provides you a glance on politics and society in ancient Athens and Sparta. Second, it also provides you a glance on political thoughts of Plato and his place in political philosophy. And third, it also tries to illuminate you about the Aristotle's political philosophy and roots of the Contractarian and Cosmopolitan thought, as well as contributions of Polybius and Cicero.